Jake and Brianna love people. They love them deeply and passionately. They have a heart for the underdogs and the marginalized. Jake and his family, along with his parents, Peggy and Randy, have become close friends and incredible ambassadors for World Orphans over the last few years. Jake is a brilliant mind, but a humble man who loves Jesus, his wife, his children, and his church. We are a stronger ministry because of his influence in the partnership with the Seaver family. Please join me in welcoming Jake Seaver.
I'm not up here because I'm a missionary or a speaker that can educate you on what is going on in the world of orphan care. I'm up here to share my story, a kind of a testimony of what God has been doing in my life over the last decade or so, and to encourage you to become a gospel patron and a life partner with World Orphans. As a Christian, what God has burdened me with is to see generational change centered on Christ. And my story of how that connects with World Orphans really has two parts to it: my work and my family. My work is something that I've always loved, working with my dad and my brother, first as an employee and then as a partner at an educational furniture company called Media Technologies. Was fun for me. It's been a blast, and it's been fun for us as a family. God saw it fit to bless us with success as we were able to do things that few in our industry would do, and we were able to make good money at it. But money was never the driving factor for us. We wanted to see God use our business for eternal purposes. We were kingdom-minded, and God blessed us with opportunities over the years to help various ministries and organizations in countries like Haiti and Guatemala. Our goal, as I said, was to invest in generational change centered on Christ. This mission gave purpose to our labor, our business, and our giving. While I was primarily focused on the mission through our business, my wife Brianna became interested in the mission of generational change centered on Christ at home, with a growing interest in adoption. It took me a minute to catch up with her, but eventually I did. Initially, we were involved in foster care, and we ended up having 19 kids from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador in our home at various times. God used that experience to prepare us for our biggest step. We adopted a sibling set of 3 from Colombia. Brenna and I now have 5 kids, 2 of whom are 18, and they're both here tonight, Manuela and Will. And the others are 16, 15, and 13. They're at home. You can imagine our home is a busy one, but we love it most of the time. Through fostering and our adoption experience, we completed many hours of training, and we heard many stories of what kids go through. The common factor in all of them is that they didn't be asked to be put into those situations that they found themselves in. It wasn't their fault that they were orphaned. It is something that happened to them. The more I learned, the more my heart grew for the orphan. The more my heart grew, the more my desire to make a difference grew. Eventually, that is what led us to get involved with World Orphans. We first became acquainted with Chad, as he mentioned, and Marlena, through our church that has supported them for many years. Getting to know them has caused us to want to be more involved in their ministry. And in 2018, I approached Chad with the idea of our business partnering with them through their work in Guatemala. It was something that we all prayed about and continued to discuss. Chad began to meet regularly with myself and my dad. We asked him to come up with a proposal of how our business could be more involved with their economic empowerment area of ministry. I thought his plan was decent, but my dad said he needed to think bigger. And the look on Chad's face was something special. I'll never forget it. For my dad and for me, this was an opportunity to be invested in our investment, and we wanted it to really count. After a few more meetings with Chad, we settled on a plan to enhance our economic empowerment ministry and we committed to a significant monthly giving amount. Through the Economic Empowerment Program, we now have 2 vocational training centers in Guatemala that generate goods to sell through the purpose of creating jobs for future opportunities for women, youth, men, where they can find their God-given gifts and find dignity in doing so. In many ways, it was just like running a business. Know the goal and adapt your plan based on what you see. Being partners has been a natural fit that has brought us much glory, or that has brought much glory to God in the work that is being done through World Orphans in the local church in Guatemala. Earlier this year, I read a book entitled Gospel Patrons by John Reinhardt. I'm assuming each family grabbed one on the way in. The book tells the story of Humphrey Monmouth, who helped fund William Tyndale's translation of the Bible in the 16th century, of Lady Huntington, who supported the great evangelist George Whitefield in the First Great Awakening, and of John Thornton, who promoted John Newton's work that was mentioned earlier in ministry over 200 years ago. That's exactly what my dad and I have sought to do with World Orphans over the last 3 years. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing in whatever way you can. 1 John 3:17 says, "But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him?" What does that look like? Well, it can be just about giving financially, but it can be much more. Recently, Chad and Randy Phillips introduced me to the LIFE acronym: labor, influence, finance, and expertise. All of these are ways that you and I can partner with World Orphans. My dad and I have participated in each of these areas, and I would challenge you to consider participating as you are able. Excuse me. The idea of labor is to give of your time and your energy and self to World Orphan projects. The idea of influence is to use your connections and opportunities to let others know about and how to help in the various efforts of World Orphans. The idea of finance is to give to the ministry to support World Orphans missionaries, to purchase products made by World Orphans cooperative workers, and more. And the idea of expertise is to provide professional insight, such as business, psychology, social work, marketing, or other professional areas to support World Orphans' needs and opportunities. Insert shameless plug. I know that there's a current need for a fashion and product designer for leather goods, and also for another position for helping with sales distribution and setting up boutique sales channels and corporate gift opportunities. So if you are interested, contact Chad for more details. Through my involvement as a life partner with World Orphans, I have deepened my relationships that I've had with Chad and Marlena, but I've also met many new friends, including those at World Orphans, a number of their church partners, the children they serve, the participants in the economic program, and many more. It has been a great ride this far, and I know that there will be more. The point is this: there are many ways that we can each participate in life that would greatly multiply the efforts of what World Orphans is doing around the world to preserve families, because together we flourish. Many of you are already involved. Maybe you are already using your influence or your finances for World Orphans. If so, that's great, but I would like to challenge you to maybe get involved in one more area tonight. Or maybe you are not involved yet. I challenge you tonight to consider getting involved in whatever way that you can. You will be filled in many ways, as I have been. Let's be partners for life: labor, influence, finance, and expertise. As I said earlier, World Orphans has given me, it has given all of us, an opportunity to be invested in our investment. This isn't just about throwing money at something and then forgetting about it until the next fundraiser. This is about walking side by side with God's workers, helping them achieve what God has called us to do. Won't you join us?